Good morning, everybody. Pastor Stitch, Narrow Path Christian Church, BC, Bay City, Michigan. Welcome to the Biker Devotional. So today is April 28th, 2023, 24. Wow, it's April and I'm still stuck in 23. That's crazy. You know, sometimes we just get hung up and just can't move on. Isn't that strange? Life goes where it is, and we just, for whatever reason, we can't move on. I know it's 2024. I've been saying it every day for 4 whole months. And yet, today, I say 2023. Being distracted, being concerned about the world, being whatever, can cause us to miss things by a mile. You know, this morning as I'm looking at Proverbs chapter 28, I look at verse 12, and I remembered that I also had read in Judges chapter 7 about Gideon today. Gideon was a man who found himself in a real predicament. Bad things were happening in his country. Everybody was afraid. Some were living in caves. When they wanted to harvest their stuff, they had to be very careful or their enemy would come and steal everything they had. Gideon was hiding and threshing his wheat, and God called him to service. We can get so distracted we miss things by a mile. In verse 12 of Proverbs 28, it says this: when the righteous triumph, there's great rejoicing. But when the wicked come to power, people hide themselves. The wicked had come to power. The Israelites had started worshiping Baal and the Asherah. Gideon's father had built an altar to Baal with an Asherah pole right next to it. Gideon was threshing his wheat and complaining to God. Why would it be this way? If you're for us, why does it feel like you're against us? They were hiding themselves, distracted. God calls Gideon, and Gideon's a coward. He starts off horribly cowardice. But he does what God says anyway. He just does it in cowardly ways. God says, go destroy the altar of Baal and cut down the Asherah pole, offer a sacrifice to me. Build a new altar to me, offer a sacrifice using the wood from those altars for my sacrifice. Gideon says, okay. And then he goes out in the middle of the night to do it because he was afraid of all the people. And I get it. But he followed God. And it came to be known that he did it. And they were going to put him to death. And his dad stands up and said, if Baal can't take care of his own stuff and take care of my son because he did this, then what kind of God is he? At the end of chapter 7, we see righteous triumphing. Because Gideon gained what he needed. You know, he was so afraid that before the first battle, that was the last battle, God had to say, Gideon, I need you to hear this. Go listen to these people in your enemy's camp. Just sneak in. Take a listen to what they're saying. Gideon does that and hears that they're prophesying to themselves that Gideon is going to beat them. And Gideon only has 300 men. But he goes back to his camp. He wakes all his men up. He goes out and he takes everything. When the righteous triumph, there is great rejoicing. We can be distracted we can miss the mark. We can be in another year completely in our minds. But when you do what God says, you will find great rejoicing. But when the wicked come to power, people hide themselves. Don't hide in the past. Don't run to the future. Do what God says today. You'll be able to rejoice. Join your fellow believers in church today. It is Sunday, April 28th, 2024. You got time to get to church. I expect you to be there. And by the way, if you can make it to my church, if you live in my area, that's great. But let me be clear. This is probably why my church will always be small. I don't care where you go to church. Just get your butts in a seat and listen to what God says through that preacher. I love y'all. Hope you have a great day. God bless.